You are here because you want to know how to get your employees committed to growing your organization and living up to your expectations. But consider this. How do you know that your employees even know what those expectations are? All too often, we make assumptions about the way that things should be done. And these quickly lead to confusion, misalignment, and lack of trust. You may even have a particular employee or department top of mind right now. People who are once knocking it out of the park have since become complacent and unreliable. And you want them to get back to where they were. You just don't know how or how to make it last. What if I told you it isn't about the work itself, but rather how you work? Focusing on behaviors creates a clear vision for employees. It produces more consistent results and ultimately is a catalyst for exponential growth for your business. At the end of this video, you will better understand a few things. For one, the importance of clearly defining values and observable behaviors. Number two, how clear expectations drive results for your organization. And number three, what you can do to create and sustain a values-driven culture. Let's get into it. Think about this for a moment. How you work is just as important as the work you do. Over the course of time, lots of research, and sure, some trial and error, we have learned that when it comes to business, culture is our competitive advantage. When you create a top workplace culture, you recruit top talent, you retain top talent, and top talent drives your business forward. Oftentimes, we hear from companies that an investment in culture feels fluffy or discretionary. For so many, paying attention to how you work is something extra or secondary to getting things done. Today, I'd like to challenge your thinking on this. When you create a culture that invests in the growth of your people, you will create a workforce that invests in the growth of your business. Your culture is defined by how you work. And for this reason, how you work is as important as the work you're doing. David Cummings, he's a tech entrepreneur who's founded over 10 companies collectively valued at $1 billion, says that the corporate culture is the only sustainable competitive advantage that is completely within the control of the entrepreneur. From meetings to executive strategy to our values, we have limited clarity all of the time in the workplace. Have you ever been a part of one of those meetings where someone comes up with this really good idea and all this work gets doled out and assigned to everybody, but somehow we still walk out of the room with a lack of understanding of what needs to get done? This is a symptom of not having clear expectations and lack of alignment. Chalmers Brothers, the author of Language in the Pursuit of Leadership Excellence, refers to this as having multiple explanations to one happening. And we've all been there. What's that like? Think about that for a moment. What's that like to have misalignment on your team? Chaotic, right? How do you usually feel, or your teammates usually feel? For me, I'm often defeated or helpless. And what's usually the result? Typically failure or missed expectations. Alignment to the right things is key. Alignment to clearly defined and alive values is key. Are your values clear and alive? Can you identify when people are living them out? This one time, I was meeting with a potential client, and we were talking about culture and values and engagement, and just a great, rich conversation was happening. And they had recently just established a new set of values, and they were so excited to tell me how they truly believed that everybody was clear on what it meant for them to live them out. Hours and hours had been put into creating these. But then I asked, so how do you know that people are living them out? How do you measure that? Interesting enough, I was sitting in a room with a president, CFO, and an HR manager, and each one of them had different understandings of what that would look like. The president, he described it specifically as getting results. The HR manager leaned on the behaviors and progress towards those results. And the CFO had his own set of expectations of what those values meant to be lived out. And even from his team to the rest of the organization, there was a differentiation. between what that meant. They paused for a moment. I just let the silence sink in. They realized that they were not in alignment with what it meant to work at that company. And as a result, their expectations of employees were completely different, rendering their values rather useless. So what could happen if those expectations change from leader to leader and no alignment exists in your organization? I'm going to share a personal story with you. I once worked with an organization that had complete lack of clarity of what it meant to work there. Yes, we had values. They were up on the wall. You walked by them every day, but to this day, I couldn't tell you what they were. And they really didn't have a lot of meaning, and they certainly didn't show up in how we worked. We had this lack of clarity that was constantly looming over us. The goalposts were always moving, and we always needed another revision of the work that needed to get done, or we had to change how we would show up when we went to go speak with clients. Somehow we always missed the mark. As a result, I was burnt out. I was tired of having to redo work all the time. And I was really anxious to even show up at work. What do you think that did to my level of engagement? Nobody likes to work in a place where there's drama or inconsistency or unfairness. When expectations of behaviors are left subjective, or not defined by the organization as a whole, they often come out as just opinions of individual employees or managers. What you and I define as being respectful may look entirely different to somebody else. Values are what you stand for and how you want to show up in the world. This allows things to be measured, to be supported, corrected, and even celebrated. Defining values eliminates the uncertainty of what is really expected of employees. According to Gallup, clear and high expectations are the foundations of employee engagement. Without them, it's nearly impossible to be successful. Chalmers says the quickest way to build resentment is to not fulfill someone's unspoken expectation. We're all capable of so much more than any one of us knows, and clearly defined values should help each of us achieve greatness beyond anything we expected. So what can we do about it? Here's how you can create and sustain a values-driven culture. Number one, create shared meaning through consensus. When we're working with clients, we help build out those expectations in a collaborative way, involving input from all members of the teams, regardless of tenure, role, or department. But it's up to you to take time to ask. Ask them what it means to work at your organization. Number two, concisely define it and explain them through action statements. Be like a dictionary. I know it's been a while since we've opened up a dictionary, I'm sure, but you remember what that's like. A dictionary has this word, a clearly defined definition, and then context around what it means when it's being used. Provide context for employees through examples, stories, and action. Then clearly articulate those expectations through as many channels as you possibly can. Through recognition, your intranet if you have one, through storytelling, performance reviews. You could even do it through something that we call our code. We help organizations build out this code that you have it clearly defined and written out for people to know exactly what's expected of them. Next, connect your values to company results. It's in that communication and repetitive articulation of those expectations that we are demonstrating how high your bar is set. On our code, we have our core values across the top, and then underneath that, we have core traits and behaviors or action statements that we expect of every employee, regardless of role. This becomes a really great way to measure and demonstrate how one is working in alignment with your values. And it also helps tie those behaviors to specific work that you're doing every day. Your values should be tied to the results that are being driven by them. The last thing you can do, you need to commit. You need to commit to running your organization by your values. Make decisions by your values. That means hire by your values, manage to them, and even terminate by them. Real values are defined by action. Most people like the concept of values, like having them. But few are driven by them because they fail to act with them with consistency. So as you go back to your teams, consider your values. Consider your expectations and how those fit with your business strategy. Consider whether they're well understood, that they're clearly defined, and that they're truly alive. Core to who you are is how you work. It's what you stand for, so don't hide it. Shout it from the rooftops, affirm it over and over and over again through as many channels as you possibly can. Now, more than ever, particularly during these uncertain times, employees need clarity around what's expected of them. Clarify that expectation through your values. Engage with them in a discussion on what it means to work for your organization, and you will see them choose to be more engaged with your organization. At the end of the day, values drive behaviors, and behaviors lead to results. I'll leave you with this. At Leverage, we have a lot going on. So naturally, we get asked to explain what it is we do. And after about the millionth time of trying to explain it, we finally came up with an answer that mattered. The work we do at Leverage is only a part of who we are. It's how we work that sets us apart. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself, for taking the time to listen. Reach out to me if you want to continue the conversation. I'd love to connect. And in the meantime, be safe, be well, and be kind. Have a great day.